Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sal Licata Show podcast, available on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube as well. Subscribe, like, download, rate, whatever, comment. We appreciate that all. And we're looking forward to continuing to try to build this thing out if and when we get to the... You know what? We were promoting the Mets and Yankees Subway Series tickets, and then Badabooms was like, well, if we don't get to 10,000 followers, then what? I was like, well, then we go to the game. I mean, if we get to 10,000 followers, we're going to give away Mets and Yankees Subway Series tickets. We get a great pair of tickets, courtesy of the Sachdev family orthodontics in Rockland, so we appreciate that very much. Good seats, field level seats, Mets, Yanks in May. We only got to get about 4,000 more subscribers, so we're more than halfway there. And if we don't attain that over the next couple of months, then we're going, bada booms, you and I are going, so we'll enjoy it. Before we get into the baseball, and there is some baseball stuff, we react last night to the Knicks. If you're listening to this on Friday, when we record this Friday morning, the Knicks played the Pistons Thursday night in their return post-All-Star break, and they were healthy. Anunoby was back and taking on the Pistons in a game that was a good barometer for this Knicks team to start this second half, so to speak, of the season. A team that has beaten the snot out of them the first couple times they played them in Detroit. Not literally in Detroit, meaning in the Detroit Pistons. But the first couple times that they played them, non-competitive games. Pistons are without Stewart and Duran, two of their best players, out suspension. The stuff that they get involved with, the nonsense that goes on in the NBA. So those guys were out. Knicks had a chance to take advantage of that. And they didn't. And again, they get beat pretty handedly by the Pistons. And Cade Cunningham was looking like an MVP this season. You know, you could see this coming last year in the postseason, where there was a lot of talk going in. Who's the best player in the series? And it was a fun series. Good battle. But the Knicks obviously beat the Pistons and prevailed. And there was talk if the Knicks would have lost that series, Tibbs would have been fired, this and that. He ends up getting fired anyway, even though they beat not only the Pistons, but the Celtics after that, which is ridiculous. But you could tell that Cade Cunningham, and it hurt me to say this, you could tell that last year, Cade Cunningham was the best player in that series. He was the best player on the floor. And now this year, he's even that much better. And the Pistons are that much better. You could see the building of a team with potential and toughness a year ago. And they have now taken another step. They're right there with the Thunder. I'm not going to put them on that same exact level, but those are the two best defensive teams in the NBA, the Thunder and the Pistons. Those are the teams with the two best records. And that's the measuring stick right now. And certainly in the Eastern Conference, it's the Detroit Pistons, not the Knicks. And it was supposed to be the Knicks coming into the year. The East was wide open for the Knicks, not the Pistons. People were talking, I was respecting the Pistons, but people were talking about the Knicks. No Celtics, no Pacers. This is it. Wide open for the Knicks. And instead, they're in the same spot as they were a year ago. They're good, very good. One of the top teams in the league, as a matter of fact. But not yet good enough. And I'm not saying, I think there are two ways to come on today. One, the Knicks will never win. They stink, blah, 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 blah. They're not good enough to win a championship. Two, it's a regular season game and I'm not going to go nuts about it. And I'm going to go with option B or two. I said option B because of My Cousin Vinny, that movie. You get familiar with it if you don't. I'm going with option B. It's the regular season and I'm not getting caught up. Now, that doesn't change my thoughts, my core principal thoughts after last season. Like, I never believed the Knicks were good enough after watching them last postseason. I didn't believe that this tandem of Brunson and Towns would get the job done. Not to mention maybe some of the other pieces, and I certainly didn't like the fact that they got worse, in my opinion, than head coach. Getting rid of Tibbs and bringing in Mike Brown made the Knicks worse. But forget about the overall big picture of championship stuff. Last night, it was a fun game from the beginning on, like the first half of the game when it was more competitive, back and forth, tough physical battles. Breen referenced it all night long. Felt like it was a playoff game. And you could see the Knicks can match the Pistons' defensive intensity. Maybe not as good, certainly throughout the four quarters, and you couldn't stop Cade Cunningham, and that's a problem. They have to figure that out. Well, one of their tough defenders, whether it's Anunoby, whether it's Mikal Bridges, they got to figure it out. One of those two guys has to slow him down at the very least, or figure out a double team, whatever it may be. I'm not the coach. I don't know the X's and O's. They have to figure that out. You can't let him go nuts and just destroy you like that. But other than that, I thought the Knicks did a pretty solid job defensively early on in that game, keeping it close. And that would give me reasons to be encouraged that if they do play in a series, maybe the Knicks could have a chance to win. And here's the more encouraging thing, or maybe not the more encouraging thing, but the reason why you should believe in any team, especially a team like the Knicks, that in any given series, or certainly any given night, anything could happen. If you shoot the basketball well, you can win any game. The Knicks sucked at shooting the basketball last night, and that's why they lost. Now, yes, you tip your cap to the Pistons and their defense. Obviously, that's part of a great defensive team that are going to make the three-point shots in particular look more difficult than they normally would. But the Knicks missed open threes, too, all night long. I mean, think about this. How are the Knicks, I don't care who they're playing, how are the Knicks supposed to beat anybody when you have OG, Cat, McHale, and Alvarado throw in Josh Hart, who didn't even attempt a three. But those 5 players, all integral parts to the offense in certain ways, especially from beyond the arc, 2 for 20 from downtown. That cannot happen. You can't survive. You could have Alvarado, who, by the way, I love him and I love his intensity. He is a bad shot taker. He takes bad shots left and right. Like Riley would have him glued to the bench. I know I'm going back 30 years here, but even Tibbs might, you don't like it? Tibbs might have him glued to the bench a little bit more often because he just takes bad shots. And he's not a good shooter. And that's not why he's here. So Alvarado 0 for 3 did not help. I know he went nuts in the Alvarado game, his second game back, or second game with the Knicks after the game in Boston. Where was that one? That was in Cleveland? Whatever. His second game with the Knicks, he was going nuts. It was the Alvarado game, knocking down those threes and all the points that he scored in just a few minutes. He's not a scorer. We all know that. So 0 for 5 from downtown and bad shot taking in the process. That was not good enough. Cat is, I mean, come on, dude. How many times we got to see it? The same thing. The offensive fouls, I know that wasn't the primary issue last night. He's out of control. He's always complaining. He's always soft, throwing bows, looking for the foul call. So he's, what? It's always that with Cat, always perplexed by the calls going against him. Yet, if you watch the replay, he's elbowing guys in the face, and then he wonders why it's overturned for the offensive foul. He takes him too long to get involved offensively. He should be more on the perimeter as opposed to the paint. I hate the way they're using him. I hope that one of my reasons for being open to Mike Brown coming in was to maybe utilize Karl Anthony Towns better. Like at some point, somebody's going to figure it out. Just play him on the perimeter. That's it. His greatest skill set is being a big that can shoot the three and stretch the floor. And they don't do that nearly enough, and I can't stand it. That's what they need. They need him to shoot the three ball more often. But even him last night, like we said, from downtown, 1 of 4. Anunoby, first game back, maybe a little rusty, 1 of 8. It can't happen. I mean, you just can't win like that. They're not. I don't care who they play or what the circumstance is. It's impossible for the Knicks, who are built that way. They're not built to be a great defensive team, although they're still a solid defensive team. Look at the rankings in the NBA. The Knicks are one of the better teams. They got Anunoby, lights out defender, and now you add Alvarado, obviously Bridges. They have some defensive pieces individually that can guard some guys. Collectively, not very good with Towns and Brunson being on the floor, obviously. But defensively, I don't think that it's like, well, the Knicks aren't good enough defensively and they can't win. I think their biggest issue is the inconsistent shooting. That's a problem. Now, they miss Miles McBride terribly because he was one of their better shooters. So you miss him on the perimeter as opposed to having those shots go to Alvarado. That's an issue, but he's not here. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't cry about it. My big overall point, though, is instead of looking at that game last night and saying there's no way the Knicks could beat the Pistons or win a championship because they just got pasted by them again. They got punked by the Pistons in the regular season. It is what it is. Doesn't mean that you can't, though. I mean, the Knicks got punked by the Celtics last year in the regular season and ended up beating them in a playoff series that many people didn't think they would have a chance to win going in. So I'm not betting against Jalen Brunson in the postseason. And also, the Knicks do have a lot of pieces that you can make a legitimate argument, even with the results of the regular season against Detroit. You can make an argument that they can beat them, push comes to shove, in a postseason series. They need to hit the shots. Now, would I bet on it? No. I don't think the Knicks are going to win the championship this year, but I've said that for a long time. But it doesn't mean they can't. They still can. Just because they lost to the Pistons in a regular season game for the third straight time, and it really wasn't competitive again, certainly in the second half, does not mean the Knicks cannot win at all. They still can. If they make their shots, a series would look totally different. Whether it's Anunoby, whether it's Bridges, somebody has got to take over in the playoffs and complement Jalen Brunson, or just even in whatever game. It doesn't necessarily have to be the playoffs, but obviously we're spinning it forward, talking about the playoffs. What if Anunoby goes for 30 one night or 25? That's where it helps. What if Cat is actually consistent from start to finish of a game along with Jalen Brunson? You know what you're getting from Brunson. Night in, night out, Jalen Brunson is going to produce. He's the one thing that you can count on. As for the other guys, who the fuck knows what this team? Bridges one night? I don't know. Maybe. Anunoby one night? I don't know. Maybe. Karl Anthony Towns one night? I don't know. Maybe. But that's what they need. And at least they have the guys there that have the potential to go off. I'm not writing them off, and I'm not sitting here definitively, oh, you get punked by the Pistons again. Just go home. The season's over. My feelings on the Knicks have not changed from the end of last year till today, where we sit here today on February 20th. My feelings have not changed whatsoever. I don't think they're going to win a championship. I don't think they're good enough as currently constructed. It doesn't mean that they can't. They still can, because they still do have pieces that if they all gel together and play at their max potential for the best of 7, for 4 out of 7 games, they can do some damage, specifically in the East. I don't think they're beating the Thunder. And look, like I said, realistically, I don't think they're beating the Pistons. There are other teams that are going to give them challenges. But they still could. They just got to figure it out. And my biggest issue probably is Mike Brown. Like, when I start to sit here and think, okay, well, they got to figure out a way to stop Cunningham. They got to figure out a way to get better looks and knock down threes more consistently. Do I trust the head coach to figure that out? I don't. I mean, I look at Mike Brown as a guy who just doesn't have any answers. Rolls the ball out there, let it go, let's see what they can do. I don't think he's got any answers. Overall, very disappointing night at the Garden. Feel bad for the people that paid, $300, $400, whatever it is, to get in and go watch that game. The atmosphere was good, but the Knicks just didn't get the job done, and I think it comes down to shooting the basketball. It's not just the Pistons' defense. We've seen this before with the Knicks. When they're knocking down the shots from 3, oh my God, everything's great. Bring us the ship. First one's in 73. And when they're not, like last night, it's, oh my God, this team stinks. They can't win the championship. In addition to the other issues like, Cat being a problem and Mike Brown.